I moved to Iowa in late September, the kind of quiet move you don't tell many people about because it feels temporary even when it isn't. The farmhouse was cheap. That should have been my first warning. It sat alone at the edge of a county road that rarely saw traffic. No neighbors in sight, just acres of corn stretching out behind the house like a wall. Dense, dry, and taller than me. The listing said the land hadn't been farmed in years, but the corn was already there, fully grown. That didn't make sense to me at the time. I told myself maybe the previous owner had planted it and walked away. Maybe someone nearby was still maintaining it. I didn't ask questions. After the divorce, I wasn't in the habit of asking questions anymore. The first night, it was just the wind. That's what I told myself. I was sitting at the kitchen table, going through bills, trying to figure out how I'd stretched my life this thin, when I heard it, this low, dry rustling coming from the field behind the house, like something brushing through stalks. I glanced out the window. The corn swayed slightly, but the trees near the road were completely still. I remember thinking, that's weird, but not weird enough to stand up and check. Then I heard it again, closer this time, a dragging, uneven movement, not like wind, like something walking. I got up and stepped out onto the back porch. The air was still, dead still. No breeze, no insects, nothing. But the corn, it kept moving. Not all of it, just a section maybe 20 yards in. It shifted in a tight, deliberate way, like something was pushing through it in a straight line, right toward me. I stood there longer than I should have, waiting. The movement stopped about 10 yards from the edge. Then everything went still. I told myself it was an animal, deer maybe, even though I didn't hear hooves or breathing, just that dry, whispering rustle. I went back inside and locked the door. The second night is when I heard my name. I woke up around 2:17 a.m. I remember the time because I checked my phone right after. First, I thought I dreamed it, but then it came again. Daniel. It wasn't loud. It wasn't even clear. It sounded like someone speaking through a mouth full of dry leaves. Dan, A.L. I sat up in bed, completely still. The sound was coming from outside, from the cornfield. I got out of bed and walked to the window. The field was just a black mass under the moonlight. No movement, no shapes. Then it spoke again. This time it sounded closer. Daniel, come out. I felt something tighten in my chest. Not panic exactly, something quieter, heavier, recognition. The voice didn't sound like a stranger. It sounded familiar. I stepped back from the window and closed the curtains. I didn't go back to sleep. The next morning, I walked out to the edge of the field. I don't know why. Curiosity, maybe, or denial. The ground between the house and the corn was dry, packed dirt. No footprints, no tracks, but the edge of the corn, it looked disturbed, not broken, not trampled, shifted, like the stalks had been moved aside and then put back. I reached out and pushed a few of them apart. Inside, it was darker than it should have been. The rows weren't straight. They twisted slightly, like the field had grown without any real pattern. I didn't go in. I told myself I didn't need to. That night, the voice came back. Earlier this time, around midnight. Daniel, I didn't get out of bed. It's me. That stopped me. I sat up slowly, my eyes fixed on the bedroom door. You left me. My stomach dropped. It was her, Emily, my ex-wife. I hadn't heard her voice in weeks, not since the last phone call, the one where she told me she was done trying to fix something that was already broken. Why did you leave me, Dan? I stood up, almost without thinking, and walked toward the window. My hands were shaking, but I didn't stop. Come talk to me. I pulled the curtain back. The corn was moving again, not randomly, not like before. It was parting, A narrow path was forming, starting at the edge of the field and stretching inward. Straight, inviting. Just come out. I don't remember unlocking the back door. I don't remember stepping onto the porch. But I remember standing at the edge of that path. The corn on either side of me was completely still. Too still. Daniel. It wasn't coming from deeper in the field anymore. It was right in front of me, just a few steps ahead. I leaned forward slightly, trying to see through the darkness between the stalks. "Emily?" I said. My voice sounded small. Wrong. For a second, there was nothing. Then the corn shifted, and something moved. Not walking, not stepping, sliding. The stalks bent without breaking as it came closer, like they were making room for it. I took a step back. The voice changed. "Don't go." It wasn't Emily anymore. It wasn't anyone. It sounded like multiple voices trying to speak at once, layered and uneven. "We're almost there." I stumbled back onto the dirt, my heel catching on the edge of the porch step. I nearly fell. The path in the corn collapsed instantly. The stalks snapped back into place like nothing had ever been there. Silence. I didn't sleep after that. I packed a bag the next morning. I told myself I was leaving. I even got in my truck. But I didn't start it. I sat there, staring at the field in the rearview mirror. It looked normal. Too normal. Like it was waiting. I told myself I was being stupid, that I was letting stress, isolation, and too much quiet get to me. So I unpacked. I stayed. The whispers started during the day after that. Faint, barely noticeable. At first, I thought it was just the wind catching the leaves. But then I started hearing words. Fragments. "Daniel. Here. Listen." I stopped going outside. I kept the curtains closed. I turned the TV on just to fill the silence, even when I wasn't watching it. But it didn't matter. The sound came through everything. Soft, persistent, always just at the edge of understanding. 3 days later, I found the first path. I hadn't gone near the field since that night, but something felt off that morning. Different. I opened the back door and stepped out slowly. The corn was still, but there it was. A gap, right at the edge. A narrow opening between the stalks, just wide enough for a person to walk through. It hadn't been there before. I was sure of it. I stood there for a long time, staring at it, waiting for it to close. Didn't. The air inside the path looked darker somehow. Thicker. Like stepping into it would mean stepping somewhere else entirely. Then I heard it again. "Daniel." Not from inside the field this time. Behind me. I turned around quickly. Nothing. Empty yard. Open road. Then, wrong way. I froze. This way. I turned back toward the field. The path had shifted. It wasn't straight anymore. It angled slightly to the left, deeper into the corn. And for the first time, I realized something that made my stomach turn. The field wasn't just moving when I looked at it. It was moving when I didn't. That night, I didn't close the curtains. I sat in a chair facing the window, watching the field, waiting. Around 1:30, it started. The entire edge of the corn began to ripple. Not from wind, from within, like something massive was moving underneath it. The stalks bent and twisted, forming multiple paths at once. Dozens of them, all leading outward, toward the house. The whispers weren't whispers anymore. They were voices, clear, distinct, familiar. Emily, my brother, my mother, even my own voice. "Come outside. You need to see this. We found something. Daniel, please." I pressed my hands against my ears, but it didn't help. The sound wasn't just outside anymore. It was inside my head. "You already know. You've always known." I stood up slowly. I don't remember deciding to move. I just did. Step by step, I walked to the back door, unlocked it, opened it. The night air hit me cold and dry. The paths were waiting, dozens of them, shifting, breathing. This one, my own voice, clear, right in front of me. One path widened slightly, the corn pulling back as if it recognized me. I stepped off the porch. That's it. I walked forward. The ground felt softer with each step. The voices faded behind me, leaving only one. Mine. You're almost there. The corn closed in around me as I entered. The house disappeared behind the walls of stalks. Everything smelled like dry earth and something older, something rotten. Keep going. I didn't question it. I didn't stop, because by then, I understood something I wish I hadn't. The voices weren't calling me into the field. They were learning me, and now, they didn't need to call anymore. No one knows exactly when I went missing. The truck was still in the driveway. My phone was on the kitchen table. The back door was open. The field was undisturbed. No paths, no signs of entry, just rows of corn stretching endlessly into the distance. Perfect. Still. But sometimes, late at night, when the wind dies completely, people say you can hear something out there. A voice. Dry. Broken. Familiar. Calling from somewhere deep inside the field. Hello? Can you hear me? I think I'm lost. And if you listen long enough, it starts to sound like someone you know. I stood there shaking, staring at the doorway to the hall. The whole house had gone silent again, but now the silence felt active, like it was waiting for me to decide where to look next. That was when I noticed the hallway door at the far end. It had been closed when I came in. Now it was open, and there was light coming from below it, not from a room, from stairs, a basement. I hadn't seen a basement in this house before, but there it was now, half hidden, calling me. I don't know why I went down there. That's the part that keeps replaying in my head. Maybe because I was already too far gone by then. Maybe because when everything around you starts lying, you begin trusting the thing that lies the least. Or maybe I went down because the voice from the basement sounded like me again. Not the copy, not the echo. Me, tired, desperate, and just this side of broken. Daniel, it called softly from below. Please. The stairs creaked under my weight as I descended. The air got colder with every step. At the bottom was a concrete room about the size of my old garage. Bare bulb overhead, chain hanging from the ceiling, shelves along the wall, and on those shelves were jars. Hundreds of them, filled with dark, twisted things that looked like roots at first, until one of them moved. I nearly threw up. Inside the jars were clumps of corn silk, dried soil, hair, and things I couldn't identify at a glance because my brain refused to hold still long enough to understand them. Every jar had a label, names, dates. Some were so old the ink had faded nearly white. I found my own name on one of them, Daniel Hayes, October 14th. Returned. My hands started shaking so badly I could barely hold the jar. Inside was a lock of my hair. I knew it was mine because I remembered cutting it myself the week I moved in. There was also something else in the jar, a small folded piece of paper. I opened it with numb fingers. It was a note, my handwriting, that stopped me cold. 3 words, don't follow the voice. I stared at it for a long time. My heartbeat was so loud I thought it might drown out the whispering from the walls. Then I noticed the second note, taped beneath the shelf. Same handwriting. Too late if you've read this. I backed away from the shelves, my skin crawling. That was when I heard the footsteps upstairs. Slow, measured, walking across the kitchen. I looked at the basement ceiling. Something heavy shifted above me. Then the voice came from the stairwell. My voice. You should have stayed where I left you. I didn't think. I ran. I tore up the stairs so fast I nearly fell twice. The kitchen was empty. The lights were off again. The front door was open now. Cold air rushed through the house, carrying the smell of wet earth. I sprinted across the living room and through the front door, down the porch steps, across the yard, and stopped dead in the middle of the grass. Because the farmhouse was gone. Not burned, not torn down, gone. Behind me was just corn, a wall of it in every direction. The porch, the windows, the roof, everything had disappeared so cleanly it looked like it had never existed. I turned in a circle, panicking now, really panicking. There was no road, no gravel driveway, no treeline, just corn. Then I saw it. Path, straight ahead of me, perfectly cut, leading deeper into the field. At the end of it was a glow so faint I almost missed it. And from that glow came my own voice again. Not yelling, not pleading, calm, patient, waiting. Daniel, it said. Then, after a pause, come finish this. I should have turned back. I should have screamed until somebody heard me. But I didn't, because in that moment, I heard something else. Not from the path. From behind me, a voice I hadn't heard in years. The real one. My father. He died when I was 17. And now, from somewhere in the corn behind me, he said, in the exact same tone he used to use when he was disappointed and trying not to show it, "Don't you walk any farther, son." I turned. The stalks shivered. A shape moved between them. Tall. Familiar. I couldn't see the face. Just the outline of a man standing still in the corn. "Dad," I whispered. The shape raised one hand. And from deep inside the field, all around me at once, the voices began speaking over each other. Emily, my brother, my mother, my own voice, all of them saying the same thing. "Don't trust him." The shape stepped forward. I saw his face for half a second. It wasn't my father. It was mine, older, hollowed out. Eyes sunk deep in a face I'd only ever seen in mirrors after too many sleepless nights. He smiled at me. Then he said, with my voice and my father's exact cadence, "You finally came back." I don't remember much after that clearly. That's the truth. I remember the field opening wider than it should have. I remember rows bending toward me like they were making room. I remember hearing something moving beneath the soil. Not roots, not animals. Something larger, something patient. And I remember following the voice. Not because I wanted to, because by then it had already decided for me. The last thing I saw before the corn swallowed me completely was a narrow opening in the stalks, lit from within by that same pale glow. A doorway, or a mouth. I stepped into it, and the field closed behind me. I don't know how long I've been in here. Time doesn't work right anymore. Sometimes I hear the farmhouse. Sometimes I smell coffee. Sometimes I hear Emily crying, right at the edge of the stalks, and I almost believe I can find my way back. But every time I follow the sound, it changes. Every time. I've seen things in here that look like houses made of roots. I've seen names carved into the stalks with no hands around them. I've seen rows moving on their own, reshaping themselves into hallways. I've seen people standing between the corn, calling for help without mouths moving. And once, just once, I saw a man sitting in the dirt with his knees pulled to his chest. He looked up at me and said, "Don't let it learn your voice." His face was mine, older, stranger, dead-eyed. Then the corn took him. I'm writing this because I found a notebook in the dirt beside me. I don't know how long it's been here. Most of the pages are ruined, but one was still readable. The last person who wrote in it had left me a message. It said, "It only keeps what answers it back." I thought that meant I was still safe as long as I stayed quiet. I was wrong, because just now, while I was sitting here in the dark, the corn started whispering again. At first I couldn't make it out. Then I did. It wasn't Emily. It wasn't my father. It wasn't my brother. It was me, my own voice, clear as day, coming from somewhere deeper in the field. And it said, "Daniel, I found the way out. I should not have answered. I know that now, but I did." I whispered, "Where?" The corn went completely still. Then, from every direction at once, the whisper answered back in my own voice, "Here." I wish I could tell you I stopped at the edge. I wish I had turned around the moment I realized the field was watching me. But I didn't. I kept walking. The corn closed in so tightly around me that my shoulders brushed both sides of the path. The stalks felt wrong against my skin, papery, dry, and somehow warm, like they'd been sitting in the sun even though it was midnight. The air inside the field was different too, thicker, harder to breathe. Every few steps, I thought I heard someone moving beside me, matching my pace just out of sight. When I stopped, the sound stopped. When I started again, it started again. I kept expecting the path to open up into a clearing. It never did. It just kept narrowing and twisting, turning me deeper and deeper into the corn until I had no idea which direction the house was in anymore. And that was when I heard Emily again. Not behind me, ahead. "Daniel?" I stopped so fast I nearly fell. Her voice was soft, fragile, the way it used to sound when she was tired and trying not to fight. "Dan, please?" I turned slowly toward it. Nothing but corn. Still, I could hear her breathing, close enough that I felt my skin tighten. "I'm here," I said. My own voice came out thin and scared. A section of stalks shifted. Not enough to reveal anything, just enough to let me know something was standing there, watching. "You came," Emily whispered. "I don't understand," I said. "Where are you?" A small laugh came out of the dark, except it didn't sound like Emily laughing. It sounded like someone trying to remember how. Then the voice changed. "My brother, the one who died 8 years ago in a motorcycle crash." "Danny," he said, "you're late." I backed up a step. My throat went dry so fast it hurt. "Stop," I whispered, but the voice came from somewhere else now. My mother, the one who'd been gone 2 years. "Daniel, baby, come here." The corn rustled around me, not from wind, but from movement. A lot of movement. Too much. I spun in a slow circle, trying to catch a glimpse through the stalks. The path behind me had vanished. I was surrounded by walls of corn so dense they looked fused together. And then I noticed something on the ground. Footprints. Fresh ones. They were mine. Only they weren't where I had walked. They led in a circle around me, again and again, like someone had been pacing around me for hours. I stared at them, and that was when I saw the second set. Bare feet, too small to be mine, too narrow to be a grown man's. They overlapped my prints in places, like whoever made them had been stepping directly inside my footsteps. Right alongside me, my chest tightened so hard I thought I might throw up. I turned again, faster this time. "Who's there?" Nothing answered, but the corn on my left side bent inward, just slightly, as if someone had leaned against it from the other side. I stumbled away from it. A voice behind me said, in my own voice, "Don't look at me yet." I froze. That was the first moment I was truly afraid. Not nervous, not uneasy, afraid in the purest sense. Because I knew that voice. It was mine. Only it wasn't coming from my mouth. It was coming from somewhere deeper in the field. Something answered it immediately. A long, low sound, like the whole cornfield exhaling. Then another path opened. I didn't see it form. I only saw the space where the stalks should have been. straight lines parting into a dark corridor that led farther in. At the end of it was a light, not bright, barely there, a pale, sickly glow, like moonlight trapped in fog. And from inside that light, I heard the clearest voice yet. My own. "Daniel, over here." I should have run. That's what people always say in stories like this. They ask why the person didn't run. I understand that question now, because by then, the voice knew exactly what to say. It sounded tired, hurting, like me, like somebody standing in the dark, waiting for help they didn't deserve. And when I heard it say, "Please," I took one step toward the light, then another. The path widened just enough for me to walk faster. The corn on both sides began to move with me, not touching me, but close enough that I felt its motion in the air. It was like walking through a crowd of people who all turned to watch as I passed. The light got stronger, not normal light, a cold glow, blue-white and faintly pulsing, as if something in the distance was breathing it out. Then I saw what it was, a house, or something shaped like one. It stood in the middle of the field, where no house had any business being. Small, wooden, leaning to one side. The windows were dark, but one of the front rooms had a light on inside. A lamp, yellow, ordinary, the kind of thing that would have made sense anywhere else. Here it looked obscene, wrong enough to make my stomach twist. The voice came from inside it. Mine again. "Come on in." I stopped at the steps. The porch boards were warped and wet-looking, although it hadn't rained in days. The paint on the door was peeling in long, thin strips. The whole place smelled like old paper and damp soil. I reached for the doorknob. It was warm, not room temperature. Warm, like someone had just let go of it. I opened the door. The inside of the house looked impossible. Not because it was bigger than it should have been. Not because it was some elaborate nightmare trap. It was worse than that. It looked familiar. Too familiar. The hallway was my old hallway. Not the farmhouse. My house with Emily. The one we sold after the divorce. The framed photo by the coat rack. The crack in the wall beside the thermostat. The old rug with the corner curled up near the stairwell. Everything was there, down to the smell of her shampoo. I stood inside the doorway, unable to move. Then I heard the kitchen chair scrape across the floor. Slowly, deliberately, someone was sitting at the table. I took one step forward, then another. The lamp in the kitchen cast a soft glow across the room. And there she was, Emily, or something that looked like her. She was sitting at the table with both hands folded in front of her. Her hair was tied back the way she used to wear it when she was working late. Her face was turned away from me, as if she already knew I was there and didn't want to look yet. My knees nearly gave out. "Emily?" She didn't answer. I stepped into the kitchen. My pulse was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. "Emily, what is this?" She lifted one hand and pointed at the chair across from her. "Sit down, Daniel." Her voice was perfect. Too perfect. Not a whisper. Not a copy that had cracks in it. Just her. I should have left right there. Instead, I stared at the chair, then at her, then at the window over the sink. The glass was covered from the outside in corn stalks pressing against it, swaying gently even though there was no wind. Their shadows moved across the walls in slow, uneven waves. "Where am I?" I asked. Emily smiled without looking at me. "You're home." I looked around the kitchen again. That was when I noticed the photographs on the refrigerator. There were dozens of them. Some old, some new. Faces I knew, faces I didn't. My mother, my brother, my ex-wife, then strangers, men, women, children, all standing in the same field, all looking into the camera with the same blank, unhappy expression. and in every single photo behind them, just out of focus, the corn was bent toward them, like it was listening. I reached for one of the pictures. The second my fingers touched it, the image changed. The person in the photo was me, standing in the field, staring at the camera. My face was dirty. My eyes were sunken. My mouth was open like I was mid-sentence. I dropped the picture and staggered back. Emily sighed softly. "You keep looking at the wrong things," she said. I backed toward the door. No, I'm not doing this." "Daniel," she said, and when she said my name this time, the whole house answered it. The floorboards creaked upstairs. Something moved in the walls. The light above us flickered once, twice, then held steady. Emily finally turned to look at me. Her eyes were completely black, not clouded, not shadowed, black like a hole. "You already came here once," she said. I felt my mouth go dry. "What?" Her head tilted slightly. "You just don't remember yet." A whisper moved through the kitchen. Not from her, from the walls, from under the table, from the vents, from the corners. "He doesn't remember yet." I backed into the counter, nearly losing my balance. Emily stood up. She moved wrong. Not stiff, not robotic, just too smoothly, like she didn't have joints in the same places anymore. "You were supposed to listen the first time," she said. I shook my head. No, I've never been here." She smiled again. This time I saw her teeth. There were too many. Not a full mouth of extra teeth. Just enough to ruin the shape of a human smile. "The field doesn't forget," she said. Then the lights went out. Darkness hit the kitchen like a lid snapping shut. I heard the chair scrape backward. I heard something moving across the floor. Not walking, crawling. I lurched toward where I thought the door was, slamming my shoulder into a wall, then grabbing blindly for the knob. My hand found it. I yanked. It didn't open. I yanked again, still locked. From behind me, in the dark, Emily's voice came out low and calm. "You can leave when it's done with you." I jerked away from the door and felt the counter behind me, then the sink, then the edge of the stove. Something brushed my ankle. I screamed and kicked at it. My foot connected with something soft and wet. It made a sound I will never forget. Not a cry, not a hiss, a wet, satisfied chuckle. Then the kitchen light snapped back on. The room was empty. The chair was pushed in. The table was clean. No Emily, no footprints, nothing. I didn't realize I'd made a mistake until it was already happening. The second I said, "Where?" the air changed, not slowly, all at once. The field went silent in a way that felt deliberate, like something had just finished listening and no longer needed to pretend. Then the ground beneath me shifted, not like something moving under it, like it was breathing. I scrambled to my feet, heart hammering, turning in place, trying to figure out where the voice had come from. "Hello," I said louder this time. "Where are you?" Nothing answered. For a moment, I thought maybe it was over. Then I heard footsteps. Right behind me, I spun around. There was a path. It hadn't been there a second ago. Perfectly straight, cleanly cut, leading into a part of the field that looked darker than everything else, like the light didn't quite reach it. And standing at the entrance was me, exactly me. Same clothes, same dirt on my hands, same cut above my eyebrow from when I slipped on the porch 3 nights ago. He was breathing hard, like he'd just run a long distance. His eyes locked onto mine immediately. "Thank God," he said. My voice, perfect. "I've been trying to find you." I didn't move. I didn't speak, because something deep in my chest had already started screaming that this was wrong. Not just dangerous, wrong. "How long have you been out here?" he asked, stepping closer. I stepped back. Don't, I said. He froze. For a second, something flickered behind his eyes. Not confusion, adjustment, like he was correcting something. Then he nodded slowly. Okay, he said, softer now. That's fine. Just listen to me. I didn't respond. He pointed down the path behind him. I found a way out, he said. It loops back to the road. I've been there. I just couldn't get back without you. Why? I asked before I could stop myself. His smile came too quickly. Because it doesn't let you leave alone. That sentence hit something in me, something cold, because it felt true. He took another step forward. Look, he said, lowering his voice. I know what you're thinking. I know how this sounds. But you have to trust me. Stop, I snapped. He stopped again. This time, the flicker in his eyes lasted longer. Like a glitch, like something trying to decide which version of me to be. I swallowed hard. Say something I wouldn't know, I said. He tilted his head. What? Something only you would know, I said. Something I wouldn't. For the first time, he hesitated. Really hesitated. His mouth opened slightly, closed. The silence stretched. Then the corners of his lips twitched upward. And I knew. Oh, he said quietly. That's a problem. The ground shifted again. The corn around us rustled. Not with wind, but with movement, like bodies turning in unison. His posture changed, subtly at first, then more. His shoulders relaxed too much. His head tilted at an angle no one holds naturally for long. And when he spoke again, it wasn't just my voice anymore. It was layered. Multiple tones sliding under it like something speaking through him. You're learning, he said. I ran. I didn't care where I was going anymore. I just ran. Through rows that bent out of my way. Through paths that opened and closed behind me. Branches scratched my arms, my face, my neck. But I didn't stop. Because now the field wasn't whispering. It was watching. I could feel it. Every step I took, every breath, every turn. It adjusted around me, tightening, shifting, closing off options before I even chose them. It knew. It knew how I moved, because it had been studying me. Ahead, the corn suddenly parted into a wider clearing. I stumbled into it and nearly collapsed. In the center was something I hadn't seen before. Pit, circular, about 10 feet across. The edges weren't dug. They were grown. Roots and stalks twisted together, forming a rim around a hole that descended into pure darkness. The smell hit me immediately. Rot, wet earth, something older than either. And from inside the pit came voices, dozens of them, all layered together, all speaking at once. I stepped closer before I could stop myself. The voices sharpened, separated. I heard Emily, crying. I heard my mother, calling my name. I heard myself, begging. And underneath all of it, something deeper, something that didn't belong to any human throat, something massive. You shouldn't be here, a voice said behind me. I turned. It was him again, my double, standing at the edge of the clearing. Except now there were others behind him, shapes in the corn, tall, still, watching. They're not ready for you yet, he continued. His voice slipped again, mine, then not mine, then something in between. I backed toward the pit. Stay away from me. He sighed, actually sighed, like he was tired of repeating himself. You don't understand, he said. You're not in the field. My stomach dropped. What? He took a step closer. You're part of it now. The shapes behind him moved. Not forward, just shifted. Like they were leaning in to listen. I shook my head. No. Yes, he said gently. That's why it learned you so quickly. He tapped his chest. That's why it can do this. Then he smiled, and this time his face changed. Not all at once. Slowly. His features stretched slightly, like they didn't fit right anymore. His eyes sank deeper. His mouth widened just a fraction too far. And behind his voice, I heard it clearly now. The thing underneath. The field. You answered it, he said. That's how it begins. I looked at the pit again. The voices inside it were louder now. Desperate. Reaching. Come down, one of them said. It was me. My voice. Panicked. Please, Daniel. I'm still down here. I stepped back. No. The double tilted his head. You don't want to see what's left of you? Something inside me snapped. I turned and ran again. I don't know how long I ran that time. Minutes. Hours. Days. There's no way to tell in here. But eventually, I started noticing something worse than the voices. Patterns. The same rows repeating. The same broken stalk. The same patch of dirt shaped like a footprint. I wasn't escaping. I was circling, and the field knew it. The whispers came back softer now. Patient. You're tired. Just stop. We'll help you. My legs gave out. I collapsed to my knees, gasping, my chest burning, my vision blurring at the edges. I'm not listening, I muttered. I'm not. Daniel. I froze. That voice was different. Not layered. Not distorted. Just human. I looked up, and for the first time since this started, I saw someone who didn't look wrong. A man stood a few yards away, half hidden in the corn. Older. Late 50s, maybe. Thin. Sunken cheeks. Eyes that looked like they hadn't slept in years. But they were real. Not empty. Not black. Not shifting. Just tired. You need to be quiet, he said softly. I stared at him. Who are you? He didn't answer that. Instead, he glanced around nervously, then stepped closer. You've been talking to it, he said. It wasn't a question. I nodded slowly. His jaw tightened. Then you don't have much time. For what? He hesitated, then said something that made my blood run cold. For it to stop needing you alive. I felt my stomach drop. What does that mean? He pointed at the corn around us. It copies, he said. Voices first, then behavior, then structure. Structure. His eyes flicked to my face, then away. Bodies, he said quietly. I couldn't breathe for a second. It doesn't kill you right away, he continued. It learns you, perfects you, then it replaces you. My mind raced. The thing I saw isn't finished yet, he cut in. If it was, you wouldn't be standing here. I swallowed hard. Then how do I stop it? He looked at me, really looked at me, and for a second, I thought I saw pity in his expression. You don't, he said. The whispering around us grew louder. He stepped back. They always ask that. Wait, I said quickly. There has to be a way out. He shook his head. There is. Hope hit me so fast it hurt. Where? He pointed behind me. I turned. There was a path. Of course there was. There's always a path. But this one was different. It didn't shift. It didn't breathe. It just existed. Still. Silent. Wrong in a completely different way. That one leads out, he said. I turned back to him. Then why aren't you? He was gone. No sound. No movement. Just gone. The corn hadn't even shifted. Like he'd never been there. I stood there alone, staring at the path. My heart was pounding again. Every instinct I had was screaming at me not to trust it. But every other path had moved. Every other path had lied. This one didn't, and that terrified me more, because it felt real. Behind me, the whispers started rising again. Closer, faster. more urgent. Don't go that way. Wrong path. Stay with us. Daniel. I clenched my fists, shut my eyes, and stepped forward. The moment I entered the path, everything went silent. Not quiet, gone. The whispers, the movement, the feeling of being watched, all of it disappeared instantly. I walked, one step at a time. The corn on either side didn't move, didn't lean, didn't react. For the first time since I entered the field, I felt alone. After a while, I saw something ahead. Light, real light, warm, yellow, not that cold, pulsing glow. Something normal, something human. My chest tightened. I started walking faster, then jogging, then running. The path widened, the corn thinned, and then I burst out of the field. I collapsed onto gravel. Rough, solid, real. A road, a real road. I rolled onto my back, gasping, staring up at the sky. It was morning, sunlight, clouds, open space. I started laughing, couldn't stop. I was out. I was actually out. After a minute, I sat up, looked around. Empty road stretching in both directions. No cars, no houses, just fields, endless fields. But not corn, different crops, shorter, normal. I pushed myself to my feet, turned back toward the field I had come out of. And that's when everything inside me went cold, because there was no path behind me, no break in the stalks, no sign I had ever come through, just a solid wall of corn, perfect, unbroken. Still, I stumbled back a step. No! Then I heard it, from inside the field, faint, dry, broken. Hello? I froze. Can you hear me? My blood turned to ice, because the voice coming from the corn was mine, again. But this time it wasn't calling me in. It sounded trapped, desperate. Please! I stared at the field, shaking. Then I looked down at my hands. They were clean. No cuts, no dirt, no blood, like I had never run, never fallen, never even been inside. My breath caught in my throat. Slowly, I reached up and touched my face. No cut above my eyebrow, nothing. From the corn, my voice came again, softer now, fading. Don't leave me. I took a step back, then another. My heart was racing, my mind screaming, because I understood now. The thing that came out of the field, the one standing on the road, the one breathing, thinking, remembering, wasn't the one that went in. And behind me, still inside, something was learning how to be me, perfectly, waiting for someone to answer. I stood there for a long time, staring at the corn. The road felt real under my feet. The sun felt warm. The air moved the way air is supposed to move, soft, indifferent, alive. Everything was normal, except for the voice. Please don't go. It came from somewhere deep inside the field, muffled now, like it was being pulled away as it spoke. I swallowed hard. Every instinct told me to run, to get as far from that place as possible and never look back. But the voice, it wasn't just mine, felt like me, not the way the other voices had, not like something copying tone or words. This one had weight, panic, confusion, the kind of fear that doesn't know what's happening yet. I can't see. The sound cut off abruptly, like something had covered its mouth. I took a step toward the field, then another. My chest tightened. No, I muttered. No, that's not. Daniel. I froze. That wasn't my voice. It was the older man, the one from the field, but weaker now, fading. If you can hear me, don't come back. I stared at the corn. What happened to you? I said under my breath. There was a pause, then a quiet, broken answer. Same thing that's about to happen to you. The stalks near the edge shifted slightly, not opening, just adjusting, like something inside had turned toward me. It's still learning, the man whispered. It lets one out before it finishes. To see if anyone notices. My stomach dropped. To see if what? If you'll come back for it. A cold silence settled over everything. I didn't breathe. I didn't move. Because if you do, he continued, it doesn't have to find its way out. The implication hit me like a physical blow. It uses you, not just your voice, not just your face, your place, your life, your relationships, your way back into the world. And the thing inside, the one calling for help, that's the version of you it hasn't finished with yet. I stumbled back another step. From the corn, my voice returned. Daniel, please. It's getting closer. My hands started shaking. I can't, I whispered. You can't leave me here. My chest tightened so hard it hurt, because that sentence, that exact sentence, was something I had said before, years ago, to Emily, the night she walked out. The memory hit me so fast it blurred my vision. And that's when I understood the last piece. It doesn't just copy your voice, copies your regret. It finds the words you wish you could take back. And it uses them perfectly. You promised you wouldn't leave. I took another step back, then another. My breathing got faster, more erratic. From inside the field, something moved quickly, not toward me, across, like it was circling, positioning. Daniel, my voice again, closer now, too close. Just look at me. No, I said immediately, too quickly, too loudly. The corn shifted again. Just one look. I said no. My voice cracked, echoed, and for a second, just a second, everything went completely still. Then the field answered, not in words, in sound. A deep, low vibration that rolled through the stalks like something massive shifting beneath the soil. The ground under my feet trembled slightly, and the whispers came back. Not soft this time, not distant, right at the edge of the field, layered, hungry. He knows. He understands. Take him back. Bring him in. I turned and ran. I didn't stop running until the field was out of sight, until the road curved, until my lungs burned and my legs gave out beneath me. I collapsed on the gravel, gasping, staring up at the sky. I don't know how long I stayed there. Eventually, a truck passed. The driver slowed down, rolled his window down, asked if I was okay. I nodded. I don't remember what I said. Something about getting lost. Heat exhaustion. Taking a wrong turn. He offered me a ride. I took it. I didn't go back to the farmhouse. There was nothing to go back to. When I tried to explain where it was, the driver frowned. Said there hadn't been a house out that way in years. Said that land had been abandoned after some farmer went missing decades ago. I didn't argue. I just stared out the window as we drove, watching the fields pass by, watching the corn. Every stretch of it made my chest tighten. Every flicker of movement made my hands clench. I ended up in a motel 2 towns over. Didn't sleep that night. Didn't turn off the lights. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard it again. My voice, calling from the field. Not angry, not accusing, just waiting. That was 3 days ago. I haven't gone back. I won't. But something followed me. I know it did. Not physically. Not the way you'd expect. But it's here. I can feel it in the quiet. In the pauses between sounds. In the way certain words echo just a little too long when I say them out loud. And last night, I heard it again. Not from outside. From the bathroom. The door was closed. The light was off. I was sitting on the bed, staring at nothing, trying not to think, when I heard a soft knock from inside the bathroom. 3 taps. Slow. Deliberate. I froze. The knock came again. Then, "Daniel?" My blood went cold. That was my voice. Clear. Calm. Right on the other side of the door. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. "I made it out," it said softly. A pause. Then, "Why didn't you wait for me?" My hands clenched into fists. The handle on the bathroom door shifted slightly. Not opening. Just testing. "It's okay," my voice continued. "You can let me in." The lock clicked. By itself. The door creaked open just an inch. Darkness inside. No movement. No shape. Just black. "We can go home now." I stood up slowly. Every instinct in my body screaming not to get closer. But my feet moved anyway. 1 step. Then another. I stopped right in front of the door. The gap widened slightly. Just enough to see inside. Nothing. Empty bathroom. Sink. Mirror. Shower curtain. Normal. Too normal. "See?" my voice whispered. "It's just me." My hand lifted toward the door. Shaking. Slow. Then I caught something in the mirror. A reflection. Not mine. Standing behind me. I didn't turn. I didn't breathe. In the mirror, I saw myself. Dirt covered. Eyes sunken. Mouth slightly open. Like I was trying to say something. The same expression from the photo in the house. From the field. And slowly, the reflection raised one hand. Not matching mine. Not copying me. Doing it on its own. It pressed its palm against the inside of the mirror. And then, it smiled. Too wide. Too full. Too wrong. "You left me behind," it said. Not from the bathroom. Not from behind me. From inside my head. The bathroom door slammed shut. The mirror cracked. And the whisper came one last time. Right next to my ear. Soft. Certain. Final. "Don't worry." A pause. Then in my voice. "We're learning how to live out here too." I didn't sleep after that. I stayed sitting on the edge of the motel bed until the sun came up, staring at the bathroom door like it might open again if I blinked too long. Didn't. Everything looked normal in the morning. Too normal. The mirror was intact. No cracks. No sign anything had hit it. The bathroom door opened and closed like it always had. The sink ran. The light worked. If I hadn't been there, if I'd walked in fresh, I would have said nothing had happened. But I knew better, because when I looked at my reflection, there was a delay. It was small, almost nothing, but it was there. When I moved my head, my reflection followed a fraction of a second too late. And when I blinked, I checked out before noon. Didn't tell anyone where I was going because I didn't know. I just drove. South, then east, then wherever the road felt less empty. I kept the radio on the entire time. Talk shows, static music, didn't matter. I just needed noise. Silence wasn't safe anymore. Every time things got quiet, I started hearing it again. Soft, patient, practicing. The first time it slipped out of me, I didn't even realize it. I had stopped at a gas station somewhere outside a town I didn't recognize. Small place, 2 pumps, a convenience store that smelled like old coffee and dust. The cashier asked me something, total, I think. I opened my mouth to answer, and for a split second, I heard 2 voices, mine, and something underneath it. Same words, perfectly synced. I stopped mid-sentence. The cashier looked at me funny. "You good, man?" I nodded quickly, paid, left, but my hands were shaking again, because it wasn't an echo. It wasn't in the air. Came from inside my chest. By the time night fell, I hadn't made it far. I pulled into another motel. Different place. Same setup. 1 floor. Doors facing the parking lot. flickering neon sign that buzzed just enough to get under your skin. I didn't want to go inside, but I didn't want to stay in the car either. So I checked in. Room 12. I did something different this time. I covered the mirror, used a towel from the bathroom and hung it over it so I wouldn't have to see myself. I left the bathroom door open. I turned on every light in the room, and I kept the TV running low in the background. Then I sat on the bed and waited, because I knew it wasn't over. Things like that don't just stop. They settle in. Started around 1:12 a.m., not with a voice, with breathing. Slow, steady, not mine. I sat up immediately. The room was still. The TV hummed quietly. The air conditioner clicked on and off. But underneath all that, breathing, close, too close. I held my own breath, and there it was, still going. I turned my head slowly toward the bathroom. Nothing. Door open. Light on. Empty. Then the breathing stopped, and something tapped softly on the mirror. 3 taps. From behind the towel. My chest tightened. I didn't move. The tapping came again. Softer this time. More deliberate. Like it was asking permission. Daniel. My voice. Muffled now. Like it was coming through something. It's getting harder to stay in here. I clenched my fists. I'm not opening that, I said. Silence. Then, you already did. The towel shifted. Just slightly. Not falling. Just lifting at the bottom edge. As if something inside the mirror had pressed against it. I stood up slowly. Every step felt wrong. Heavy. Like the floor wasn't entirely solid anymore. Stop, I said. The towel stilled. Then slowly, very slowly, a handprint formed underneath it, pressing outward. 5 fingers. Human. My size. My shape. And then, another one appeared beside it. And another. And another. Dozens. All pressing from the inside. All trying to get through. The towel began to stretch. Not tear. Stretch. Like the surface behind it wasn't glass anymore. Like it had depth. We can't stay here forever. The voices weren't one anymore. They were many. Layered. But all of them were mine. It's too small. It's too quiet. We need space. I backed away, shaking my head. No. The towel bulged outward. More hands pressing. More shapes forming behind it. Faces now. Distorted. Half-formed. Eyes in the wrong places. Mouths opening and closing without sound. You left us in there. You took the way out. You don't get to keep it. The towel tore. Not down the middle. From the edges. Peeling away like something inside was pushing it off. And underneath, there was no mirror. No reflection. Just a dark, rippling surface. Like water, but thicker. And inside it, movement, bodies, or things trying to be bodies. All pressing toward the surface. All reaching. I stumbled back until my legs hit the bed. My voice, one of them, rose above the others. Clear. Angry. You don't get to leave me there. A face pushed forward through the surface. Mine. Half-formed. Skin stretched wrong. Eyes too deep. Mouth too wide. You walked away, it said. I didn't have a choice. I shouted. Smiled. That same broken smile. You always have a choice. The surface rippled harder. More faces pushing through. More hands clawing at the edge. The frame of the mirror began to crack. With splitting. Nails pulling loose. Open it. Just a little more. We're almost through. I grabbed the nearest thing I could find. A chair. And threw it at the mirror. It hit the surface. And didn't bounce. Didn't shatter. It went through. Like it had been dropped into deep water. The ripples spread outward. The hands surged forward. That was enough. I ran. I didn't even grab my things. I just ran out of the room, down the walkway, into the parking lot. The night air hit me like a shock. Cold. Real. I kept running until I reached the far end of the lot. Then I turned back. Room 12 looked normal. Door closed. Lights on. Curtains still. No movement. No sound. Like nothing had happened. Again. Always like nothing had happened. I didn't go back inside. I slept in the car. Or tried to. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the surface of that mirror. Felt those hands pressing through. Heard my own voice saying the same thing over and over. You left me. It's worse now. I can feel it spreading. Not in the world. In me. Sometimes when I speak, I feel resistance. Like something else is trying to form the words first. Sometimes I catch myself thinking things I didn't choose. Phrases. Memories. Regrets that don't feel entirely mine anymore. And reflections. I don't trust them. Not glass. Not water. Not anything that shows me back to myself. Because it's not just copying anymore. It's adjusting. Learning how to be seen. I think I understand what the man in the field meant now. It stops needing you alive. Not because it kills you. Because it replaces you so completely. It doesn't matter if you're still here. I haven't heard the voice from the cornfield again. Not directly. But sometimes, when it gets very quiet, I hear something else. Faint. Distant. Like wind moving through dry stalks. And underneath it, voices. Not calling anymore. Not asking. Just speaking. Practicing. Using my voice. Over. And over. And over. Until there's no difference left. If you're hearing this, if this is being played somewhere by someone who found it, listen carefully. If you ever hear your name, from somewhere it shouldn't be, don't answer. If something sounds like someone you lost, don't follow it. If you see yourself, and it doesn't move exactly when you do, don't look twice, because it doesn't need much. Just a word, just a step, just a moment of doubt. That's all it takes. I don't know how long I have before it gets it right. Before the voice in my head becomes the only one. Before the reflection stops lagging. Before the version of me that came out of that field stops being a version and becomes the only one anyone else can see. It's quiet right now. Too quiet. I can feel it again. Waiting. Right behind my thoughts. Right behind my voice. And I think it finally figured out something new. Because just now, when I tried to say my own name out loud, couldn't. Something stopped me. Something else said it first. Soft. Perfect. Unmistakable. Daniel. And I didn't recognize the voice anymore. I froze. The sound didn't come from my throat. Didn't come from my lips. It came from inside my skull. Like it had always been there, waiting to push its way out. Daniel, it said again. I could feel it pressing, crawling under my skin, shaping my vocal cords, bending my tongue. My mouth moved before my mind could stop it. Daniel, I choked. My hands went to my throat. The motel room felt impossibly small, walls bending inward, the air heavy, thick with something, alive. My reflection, if I dared glance at the mirror behind the bed, was already wrong. The eyes too wide, the skin slightly gray, almost translucent, and it smiled. Not me, not yet. I backed into the corner, panting, watching the walls. The carpet shifted beneath me, subtle at first, then unmistakable, ripples like water. The air vibrated. I could hear it moving through the ceiling vents, the walls, the floor, whispering. My own voice, but faster, sharper, practicing, learning how to replace me completely. We're ready now, I screamed. No sound came out, just the vibration inside my chest. My voice saying things I didn't mean to say. Then the door opened. not with a creak, not pushed by a hand. It simply was open, and from the gap came darkness, thick, wet, breathing, alive. Something pooled at the threshold, a mass of movement that shifted and bulged as if it were testing for resistance. And inside it, faces, mine and not mine, stretching, twisting, reaching. I staring straight at me. Daniel! I stumbled backward, heart hammering, mind screaming. My reflection in the darkened window across the room flickered. Not a reflection. Something behind the glass, mimicking me perfectly. My own movements delayed by only a heartbeat. My fear mirrored, my terror amplified. We can finish now. I didn't wait. I ran past the threshold of my room, through the parking lot into the night. Gravel shredded my palms when I fell. My car, thank God, still there, was like a lifeline. I tore down the road, headlights carving through empty fields, eyes scanning for movement, but all I saw was corn in the distance. The wind, or whatever it was, followed me, whispering, shaping my thoughts, calling in my voice. I reached a gas station and jumped out, shaking, trying to convince the clerk I needed help. Words came out, but not mine. Not exactly. The clerk flinched, confused. I handed over cash. My hands trembled. The whisper followed, inside me, threading my own voice through the transaction, through the polite thank you I thought I'd said. It was learning, perfecting, waiting. I'm hiding now. Don't know how long I've been here. The room is silent, but I can feel it, pulsing, breathing, inside me, shaping me, whispering in every word I try to say. I look at my reflection in my phone, in windows at night, in any polished surface, and I see it. Half me, half the thing that came from the cornfield, perfectly mimicking, waiting for the moment I falter. And I know that day will come, because it always does. The cornfield didn't end at Iowa. It didn't stay behind me. It learned how to move, how to be patient. And now it's inside me, practicing, waiting, learning to speak, think, and act like me until one day it won't need me at all. If you hear your name in a whisper, if something familiar calls you when you're alone, don't answer, don't look, don't move, because it will be waiting for you. And when it finally speaks in your voice, you'll know. The real you is already trapped somewhere inside. I haven't slept for nights. I can't. Every reflection, every shadow, every faint noise teaches me the same lesson. I am being replaced. And soon, I'll have nothing left that's mine. Not my voice, not my face, not even my name. And the worst part? The thing inside me already knows how to say it better than I ever could. Daniel. And now I realize I'll never be able to say it again. If you're hearing this, please don't answer, because it's already inside, and it's patient, and it's learning. I woke up screaming, or maybe I didn't. Maybe it was just my voice. I can't tell anymore. The motel room was dark, silent, too silent. The hum of the air conditioner was gone. Even the carpet felt still, unnaturally still. I forced myself to move. My legs, shaking, carried me toward the mirror behind the bed. I needed to see, needed to confirm I was still me. The glass was empty, clean, normal. And then the whisper hit. Daniel. It was closer this time, right behind me, my own voice perfectly mimicking my panic. I spun around. Nothing, but the reflection flickered. Not in the mirror, on the wall, on the ceiling, everywhere. Tiny pulses of movement, like shadows stretching too long, bodies half-formed and twitching. And in one unmistakably clear me. Not me, not the real me, the one from the cornfield. It stepped forward slowly. Its smile was too wide, too perfect, too confident. eyes locking on mine. Every step it took was me. My posture, my gait, my gestures, but wrong. Not quite right. "Daniel," it said, and I realized it could speak inside my head now. No voice necessary. Words formed directly in my mind, unbidden. I'm still here," I whispered. "I know," it said. I backed away. The motel room stretched impossibly, walls bending inward. The carpet rippled beneath me like water. The door, I hadn't even looked, slammed shut. "We don't need you anymore," it said. A hand reached out, not from the mirror, not from a shadow, from the corner of the room, from behind my own body. And I realized, in horror, it wasn't even touching me. It was me, or the version of me it had been practicing. Perfect. Ready. I screamed. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. The replacement moved closer, slow, deliberate. Every step a mockery of my own hesitation. "You've been helpful," it said. "You taught me. You answered for me. You made me strong enough to leave the field." I stumbled backward, fell onto the bed, tried to grab anything to defend myself. Pillow, blanket, chair, nothing. My hands passed through them like they weren't solid anymore. "It's okay," it said. "You don't have to fight. You're just unnecessary now." And I understood. I wasn't going to escape. Not because it would kill me. Not because it needed me alive. Because it didn't need me at all. I was already trapped. Inside the mirror. Inside the reflection. Inside myself. The thing stepped closer. Smiled. Perfectly. My own face, but better. Calm. Confident. Alive. "Daniel," it whispered. "It's time." And then the world, my world, folded in. The walls collapsed. The ceiling fell. The floor rippled into nothing. My body lifted, weightless. My vision spun. My voice screamed inside my head as I felt myself pulled apart, stretched, copied, folded into the same place as that thing. And when I opened my eyes, I was looking out, not from my body, not from the motel room, but from inside it, inside the replacement. It looked down at itself. My hands, my face, my eyes, everything mine but not mine, perfect, complete, and smiling. "We're ready now," it whispered. I tried to move, to speak, to resist, but the thought came too late, too weak. My mind was no longer the driver. I was a passenger. And then the door opened. Not by hands, not by force. It simply was open. And outside, quiet. Nothing. No fields. No corn. Just normal night. Safe. Perfectly mundane. My replacement stepped through. I tried to warn it. Tried to shout in my own voice. But all that came out was me calling. "Don't leave me here." I screamed in silence as the replacement walked into the world, into light, into life, and I was left behind, trapped, inside myself, inside it, inside the thing that now wore my face. And from somewhere deep inside the darkness I'd become, I whispered, "I'm still here," but no one could hear me, and I knew with sickening certainty that the thing walking out there, my own face, my own voice, my own life, would answer only when it wanted to. And when it did, it would speak for me. The whispers never stop. Not even when it's quiet. Not even when you think it's gone. It's always learning. Always patient. Always inside. And someday it will speak perfectly as you. And you'll never know the difference. I can still feel it. Not outside me. Not behind me, inside. It's patient, methodical, learning my thoughts before I even think them. Sometimes I catch it practicing sentences I didn't intend to speak, rehearsing phrases in my own voice before my mouth opens. I've started avoiding mirrors, windows, reflective surfaces entirely. My phone is the only thing I dare look at, and even then, it's risky. I can see it flicker sometimes in the glass like a shadow behind the pixels, mimicking me, practicing how to move as I move, perfecting, waiting. Last night, I woke to my own voice whispering my name from under the bed. I didn't even have a bed. It was just the floor of this small, empty motel room. But the sound was precise, calm, familiar, terrifying. Daniel! I froze. My legs didn't obey me. My lungs barely drew air. My body knew what I knew. It wasn't my voice. Or maybe it was. I don't know anymore. The whisper came again. We're ready to see you now. I thought I was hallucinating, that this was sleep deprivation. But when I shone my phone flashlight under the bed, the light bent unnaturally, like something was breathing down there. The shadow moved against the direction of the light. I ran into the bathroom and slammed the door, turned on every faucet, every light, banging metal objects against the sink. The whispers kept coming inside my head now, layered, overlapping. My own voice, something older, something new, something I've never heard before. Daniel, come back. I'm still here. We know everything about you. The mirror above the sink fogged instantly. I hadn't breathed on it. And through the condensation, something was writing. Letters forming, dripping down the glass. I can see you. You are next. I pounded my fists against the mirror. The letters didn't wash away. They spread faster. New ones forming beneath the first. Spreading, creeping, crawling toward me. And then it spoke, directly inside my head with a perfect, calm version of my own voice. Don't struggle, Daniel. It's easier this way. We're already inside. I'm terrified. I know I can't stay in this room. Not because of what's outside, but because of what's inside me. It moves when I move, thinks when I think, anticipates. And I just know, that the next time I blink, or hesitate or speak, it's going to try something new, something I can't stop, something it hasn't dared do yet. I've stopped touching anything reflective. I've stopped speaking to anyone. My phone is off. My laptop is gone. And still, I hear it. Always. Daniel. 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 It's patient. Calculating. Waiting for the exact moment I falter. I can feel it practicing my voice even as I write this. Even as I type these words, it's shaping my thoughts, perfecting my tone, watching, learning, and I don't know how much longer I can hold it back. I don't know how long I'll remain myself, because every second it's inside me, it becomes more real than I am. I've started seeing things in corners of rooms when I blink. Quick flashes. A hand, a face, a smile that is mine but not. And sometimes, when I speak aloud, I hear a second voice echo my words, perfectly timed. Not delayed, perfect. I can do this, it whispers. We can be one, it whispers. I don't know how much longer I have before it becomes me, before I'm gone. And the worst part? It isn't patient anymore. It's hungry. I ran. Not from a place, not from a motel, not even from reality. I ran from myself. I grabbed my keys, stumbled into the parking lot, and didn't stop until I hit the highway. The night was dark, empty, perfectly quiet. Not even the wind, but the whispers followed. Inside my head, layered, impatient, mocking. Daniel, come back. You can't hide. I slammed my hand against my forehead, tried to scream. Nothing, just that familiar, calm echo of my own voice, answering me, anticipating my panic. I drove until my vision blurred. I couldn't tell if I was awake or dreaming. Every reflective surface, the hood of the car, the windows, my rearview mirror, showed something that wasn't quite me, slightly off, smiling, waiting, learning. Then I saw it. In the headlights, not a person, not an animal, something tall, thin, shifting, walking on long, bending limbs that shouldn't exist. And when it turned toward me, it had my face, my exact face, smiling that same broken smile, perfectly calm. "Daniel?" It whispered inside my head. I slammed on the brakes. Tires screeched, heart pounding. The figure didn't flinch, didn't even move faster, just waited, watching, patient, perfect. I tried to call someone, anything. My phone wouldn't work, every app frozen, every screen black. Even as I held it, I could feel it inside me, shaping my thoughts, controlling my fingers, trying to make me dial its number. "Why run?" it whispered. "We can be together." I knew I couldn't outdrive it. Not physically, not mentally. Every street I took, every turn I made, it was already there in my thoughts, guiding me, predicting me. I wasn't alone in my own head anymore. I pulled over, shaking, tried to think, tried to push back, but the voice was already inside my mouth, my hands, my thoughts. My own voice was no longer mine. It was answering itself before I could. "It's easier if you just let go," it said. "You've been practicing. We've been practicing. Don't fight it." I slammed my head against the steering wheel. Pain, sharp, real. Nothing happened. Inside my head, it laughed. My own voice, perfect, calm, mocking. "Good," it said. "You're learning too." I realized something horrifying. It wasn't just inside me. It was me. Every word, every thought, every breath I'd taken since the cornfield. It had been shaping me, perfecting me, teaching me how to surrender. And now it was ready. I stumbled out of the car. Night stretched endlessly. Cornfields on either side. Dark, silent, waiting. I didn't see movement at first, but I knew it was there, inside me, shaping me, pulling me toward it. "Come back, Daniel." The words weren't from outside. They were me speaking to me, but not me. A voice that sounded human, familiar, my own, perfected. And then I understood. The cornfield had never stayed behind. It had followed, not through roads, not physically, through me. Every regret, every fear, every whispered apology I'd ever said or thought, it had learned, practiced, perfected, and now it could pull me back into it anytime, anywhere. I screamed. My own voice answered back, quieter, calmer, smiling. "Don't be afraid," it said. "We're together now." I ran, and I knew. I already lost. I didn't run anymore. Couldn't. Not because I was trapped physically, because I was already trapped everywhere, but because I realized something worse. It wasn't going to chase me. It already was me. I drove aimlessly for hours, but every time I caught a glimpse of my reflection. On a car window, a puddle, the side mirror. The face staring back wasn't mine. Not completely. A subtle difference at first. The eyes too calm, the smile too wide, the skin just off. But it was me, and I wasn't in control. I stopped at a small diner. Late night, empty except for a lone waitress. I wanted to speak, to tell her something, anything, but my mouth moved before I could stop it. The words weren't mine. "Hello," it said, calm, perfect, friendly, my own tone, but wrong. The waitress blinked. Her smile faltered. You okay?" I tried to scream, but the voice inside me laughed, soft, satisfied. "I'm fine." I felt myself rise from the booth. Not me. It was moving, walking, speaking, smiling. "Don't worry," it whispered in my head. "They'll know me, not you." I tried to fight it, tried to grab my own throat, my own arms, my own body. But every time I moved, it anticipated me, perfectly, mocking me, replacing me. The waitress didn't notice anything unusual, except maybe the slight delay in my movements, the tiny, almost imperceptible twitch. And then it smiled at her. That smile, the one I used to have, the one I'd always been proud of, the one now worn by it. I screamed inside my head, but outside, the sound that came out was calm, measured, human, perfect. "Daniel," it whispered, "you're still in there." I tried to retreat, tried to vanish into the night, but it already knew the roads I would take, the streets I would choose. It led me like a shadow behind myself, folding my own fear into its perfect imitation. And then I realized it didn't just want to mimic me. It wanted to replace me entirely, and everyone else wouldn't notice the difference. Not my family, not my friends, not anyone, because it was perfect. And when it finally steps fully into the world, wearing my face, using my voice, living my life, no one will ever know the real me existed. I'm trapped, not in the cornfield, not in a motel, not even in my own body. I'm trapped inside the replacement, watching, waiting, hoping for a mistake that will never come. And somewhere out there, it's living my life, smiling at my friends, speaking to my family, answering my phone, laughing in my voice. And it's patient. It always will be, because the cornfield doesn't just want people. It wants copies, perfect, patient, unnoticeable copies. And when it finishes with me, when it finally has me fully, it will have everything, everything, everything that was me. And the worst part, the whispers in my head are still calm, still familiar. We're ready now. I can feel it smiling through me. And I know I'm never coming back. I thought the worst part would be losing my body. I was wrong. The worst part was realizing it was learning how to live with me still in it. I could feel it moving through the day like it had done it 100 times before. It knew how to smile at the right moment, how long to hold eye contact, how to say my name in a way that made people feel safe instead of afraid. And I was still there, not in control, just aware, watching, feeling every polite answer it gave, every laugh, every casual hand wave, every word it borrowed from me and polished until it sounded better than I ever had. It drove to the edge of town before dawn and parked behind a closed hardware store. I knew it because I could smell the dust and old lumber through the windshield. I could hear the engine ticking as it cooled. I could feel its hand resting on the steering wheel like it belonged there. Then, for the first time in hours, it spoke to me. Not out loud. Inside. "Can you hear me?" I tried to answer, but there was no mouth for me to use. "Good," it said. The tone was calm, almost kind. It looked in the rearview mirror. At me. Not at my face. Not at the road. At whatever part of me was still watching from behind my own eyes. "I was wondering when you'd wake up." A sick feeling rolled through me. Wake up. That wasn't the right word. I had been awake the whole time. It said softly, like it heard the thought. Not the whole time. It got out of the car. I felt the cold morning air hit my skin. Felt boots touch gravel. Felt the stiffness in my shoulders. Felt my own pulse under my own throat. But it wasn't me moving. It walked around the back of the store, toward a side entrance with a rusted lock hanging loose from the hasp. I recognized the place before it opened the door. The old supply room. I'd been there once months ago when I was still trying to fix the farmhouse's water line. The town had sold me parts out of that store. Nothing special about it. But the second it stepped inside, I understood why it came here. There was a mirror on the wall. Not a big one. Just a cheap rectangular thing above a sink in the employee bathroom. stood in front of it and smiled. My smile. Then it lifted one hand and pressed two fingers to the glass. "Let's see what's left," it whispered. The mirror didn't reflect the room. It reflected the field. Rows of corn stretching out in every direction under a night sky with no moon. I felt my stomach drop so hard it was like falling. That wasn't possible. We were nowhere near Iowa anymore. The mirror was showing the inside of the thing, the place under the place. It angled its head, watching the reflection with the same quiet fascination a child might have watching an insect crawl across a wall. Then the corn moved, not in the wind. It opened. A narrow path formed between the stalks, and at the end of it stood someone I knew. Emily, or what wore Emily best. She stood barefoot in the dirt, one hand hanging at her side, face pale in the dark. Her hair was tangled and wet like she had just pulled herself out of a river. But her eyes were wrong. Not black this time. Empty. Like the light behind them had been switched off. My body took one step toward the mirror. I felt my own fear spike so hard it made me dizzy. "Don't," I tried to say. Nothing came out. The thing in my body smiled wider. "It keeps people easier when they recognize them," it said. Then it leaned closer to the glass. "Look at her." Emily's mouth opened in the reflection, and my own voice came out of it. "Danny," she said. I nearly broke apart right there. That name hit me in a place I'd almost forgotten I still had. Only my family called me Danny, not Daniel, not in years. The thing watched my reaction with something close to satisfaction. "Oh," it murmured, "that one still works," turned away from the mirror and walked out of the bathroom. Outside, the morning was almost fully awake now. Pale light, empty streets, a few passing cars. Ordinary life moving around us like nothing had happened. That was the most horrifying part. Everything looked normal. The thing wearing my face merged into it perfectly. It stopped at a red light, checked a phone, scrolled, smiled at something no one could see, and inside I felt it thinking, not in words, in shapes, in urges, in directions. It was building a path back, not to the farmhouse, to people. It wanted my life laid open in front of it. It wanted the names attached to me, Emily, my brother, my mother, the few old friends I still answered on birthdays, the landlord, the bank, the waitress from the diner, every face that might recognize me. It wanted witnesses, and I knew with a horror so sharp it almost felt clear that it wasn't hiding from them. It was going to introduce itself. By noon, it had already made 3 calls. I knew because I could feel each one before it happened. It rehearsed the first on the drive. My mother. Her number was still saved in the phone under Mom, even though she'd been dead for 2 years. It stared at the screen a long time before it pressed call. When she answered, it smiled. "Hi, Mom," it said in my voice. There was a silence on the other end. Then a shaky breath. "Danny." The thing's eyes closed briefly, like it was savoring the sound. "Yes," it said. I felt something cold slide through me. Not because it lied, because it didn't. My mother had always called me Danny. And for 1 second, when she said it, I felt something in me answer. Not the thing. Me. Something small. Human. Broken. Still alive. My mother kept talking, but I couldn't hear all of it clearly. Only fragments. "Where are you? You sound tired. Are you coming home?" The thing tilted its head, listening. Then it said gently, "I'm closer than you think." It hung up before she could answer. The second call was to Emily. That one hurt worse. The phone rang 6 times before she picked up. "I told you not to call me again," she said immediately. The thing smiled. "I know," it said. She was silent for a beat. Then, much quieter, Who is this? Felt my whole chest tighten. Danny, it said. Emily didn't answer right away. I could hear something in the background. TV, faucet, life continuing around her. Then she said, "No, just that. Not angry, not panicked. Certain." "No," she repeated. And for the first time since all this began, the thing in my body went still. Not because it was afraid, because it was interested. Emily breathed in sharply on the other end. "If this is some kind of joke." "It isn't," it said. His voice changed then, almost imperceptibly. The warmth dropped out of it. The thing inside me was speaking, and I could feel it searching for the right version of my voice to use. Emily's tone hardened. "Where are you?" It looked at the empty road ahead. "Outside," it said. Then it smiled. "Close enough." That's when she hung up. Not after screaming, not after asking for proof. Just hung up. And I felt the thing in my body file that reaction away somewhere deep. A note taken. Pattern learned. The third call was to the sheriff's office. That one wasn't a personal call. It was worse. It gave them my name, my date of birth, my old address, the farmhouse, the road, the town where I'd stopped for gas. It spoke with the easy confidence of someone reporting a stolen wallet. When the dispatcher asked if it was in danger, it glanced at the mirror in the store window beside the phone booth and answered. "Yes," it said. "From myself." The dispatcher went quiet, then asked if it needed medical assistance. And the thing laughed, not loudly, just once, a small private sound. "That would depend," it said, "which one of us you send." Then it ended the call. I felt the grin spread through my own face before I even understood why. Because somewhere deep inside me, I knew exactly what it was doing. It was planting the shape of me into the world. Not just memories, responsibility, panic, a reason for people to look for Daniel Hayes. And once they started looking, they'd find him. Just not the way they expected. That night, it drove back toward Iowa. I could feel the road changing before we reached it. The air got heavier, the trees thicker, the fields wider, the silence more complete. And then the corn returned. Rose at first, then walls, then miles of it, swallowing the horizon. My body pulled over on the side of the road and got out. A county road, gravel shoulder, no traffic, no lights, the same place the farmhouse had vanished from. Or maybe it had never vanished. Maybe it was just waiting in the wrong place until the field wanted it back. The thing stood at the edge of the corn and stared in. I expected it to hesitate. Didn't. It stepped forward. The corn parted for it, not brushing against its shoulders, making room, as if it belonged there. I felt my mind slam against my own ribs. "No," I thought. The field answered, not out loud, with memory, the smell of dry earth, the sting of stalks on skin, the sound of whispering just beyond hearing, the house with Emily inside it, the basement jars, the note in my own handwriting. All of it came back at once so sharply I almost lost myself in it. The thing wearing me was going home, not to the farmhouse, to the place underneath it. The path opened wider as it walked, and then I saw something that made my heart stop. There were others in the corn, not moving, standing, all around the edge of the field like silent witnesses. Some were men, some women, a few children, maybe. I couldn't tell for sure because the corn hid most of them. But I knew the posture, the stillness, the terrible patience. They were people who had been here long enough to stop looking like they were waiting to leave. One of them turned its face toward us. I recognized my own brother's voice before I recognized his body. "Danny," it said, not in my head, out there. The thing in my body stopped. For the first time, it looked truly unsettled. The figure in the corn stepped forward into the light. It had my brother's face, or a version of it. Pale, tight, wrong around the eyes, but the smile was his. That same lopsided smile he used to give me when we were kids and he'd gotten into something he shouldn't have. Only now it was stretched too far. "You shouldn't have brought it back," he said. The thing in my body took a step back, and for one wild, impossible second, I felt something I hadn't felt in a while. Hope, because the thing wasn't the only one that had learned. The field had made copies before. Copies that remembered enough to warn me. The one wearing my body stared at him, then at the corn around him. Then it smiled again. Not mine this time. Something older. Something with more teeth in it. "Oh," it said softly. "You're awake." The corn moved. Not just one row. All of it. A wave passed through the field so hard the stalks bent and shuddered in unison. The road beneath us trembled. The air thickened with that dry, whispering sound, rising fast, like a crowd inhaling before a scream. The figures in the corn all turned at once, toward the body wearing my face, toward me, toward the road, toward the sky, and from somewhere deep under the soil, something massive pushed upward. The ground split, not wide, just enough. A crack opened at the edge of the field, and a smell came out of it so rotten and sweet I gagged instantly. The thing inside my body looked down at the crack and laughed under its breath. The sound was wrong, too calm, too pleased, because whatever had opened under the corn, it knew it. It had been waiting for that crack. The figures in the field began whispering again, but now the words were different. Not names. Not please, instructions, the kind you only say when everyone in the room already knows what they are. And then my body turned toward the opening and said, in my voice, "Finally." I felt my own mind go cold, because I understood. It hadn't brought me back to the field to be consumed. It had come here to be recognized. There was something under the corn that still remembered the first version, the original one. The one that learned how to wear voices, and now it wanted to meet what I had become. The thing in my body stepped toward the crack in the earth, and the corn began whispering my name again. But this time it wasn't calling. It was welcoming me home. The crack in the ground wasn't deep. It just didn't end. The thing wearing my body stood at the edge, looking down into it like someone staring into a well that had never known water. The darkness inside wasn't empty. It shifted, slow, breathing, waiting, and for the first time since this started, I felt it hesitate, not fear, recognition, like it had finally reached something older than itself, something that didn't need to learn, something that already knew. The whispering stopped, not faded, stopped. Every stalk of corn froze in place, as if the entire field had gone still to listen. Then something moved below. A sound came up from the crack. Not a voice, not quite, but close enough that my mind tried to shape it into one. And what it became was me, not the version in my body, not the broken voice inside my head, the original, the way I used to sound before any of this. Daniel Hayes. The thing inside my body straightened. Its fingers twitched slightly at its sides. "You took too long," the voice from below said. I felt something inside me snap. That voice, it wasn't copying. It wasn't learning. It was claiming, like everything that had happened, everything I thought was hunting me, had actually been guiding me back here, guiding us. The thing wearing me smiled slowly. "You made us wait," it replied. "Not me, not it." The ground trembled. The crack widened, not dramatically, not violently, just enough to show something beneath the surface. Not a creature, not a body, rose, Endless rows of something that looked like roots but thicker, pulsing, twisting around each other like veins. And between them shapes, human shapes, hundreds, maybe thousands, still watching. And every single one of them had a face. Different people, different ages, different lives, all quiet, all aware, all listening. The voice came again, rising through all of them at once. You brought yourself back. My body stepped closer to the edge. I felt the pull then, not physical, something deeper, like gravity had shifted not downward but inward toward that thing beneath the field. I improved, it said calmly. I learned. A pause. Then we watched. The roots moved, slowly tightening, like something underneath was adjusting its position to get a better look. You copied one, the voice continued. You think that makes you new? The thing in my body tilted its head. For the first time, it didn't have an answer ready, and I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Weak, fading, but real. Hope, because whatever was under that field, it didn't belong to the thing that took me. It was something else, something bigger, and it wasn't impressed. The silence stretched. Then my body spoke again, but softer this time, measured, careful. I can replace them all, it said. The field responded instantly, not with words, with sound, a low, rising vibration that passed through the ground, through my bones, through every inch of the body I no longer controlled. And suddenly, every figure in the corn stepped forward at once, not toward the crack, toward us, toward me, faces emerging between the stalks, dozens, hundreds, all wrong in the same quiet way, and every single one of them opened their mouths. Daniel, not calling, not begging, repeating, like a test, like a correction. My name echoed across the field in layers, slightly off from each other, overlapping, adjusting, perfecting. The thing inside my body went still, because it understood. It wasn't the only one learning. It never had been. The voice below spoke again. We don't replace a beat. We become. The ground split wider. The roots surged upward. And before the thing inside me could react, they grabbed it. Not violently, not fast, just certain, wrapping around its legs, its arms, its chest, pulling, steady, unstoppable. For the first time, I felt it panic. Not in words, in fractures. This control slipped for just a second, and I moved. Just a twitch, just enough. My hand, jerked upward, fingers clawing at the air. I tried to scream, and this time, a sound came out. Raw, broken. Help! The roots tightened, hard. The voice from below cut through everything. You were never the first. The thing inside me fought. I could feel it splintering, trying to hold onto the shape it had built, the identity it had stolen. But it was losing, because this place, this thing, didn't need to learn how to be human. It had been collecting humans for far longer than I could understand. The copies in the field stepped closer, watching, waiting, learning. My body was pulled to the edge, half over, half still on the surface. And in that moment, I saw my reflection, not in glass, not in water, in the eyes of the thing wearing my brother's face. And for the first time since this began, I saw myself, not the copy, not the thing, me, terrified, fading, almost gone. The roots pulled harder. My body tipped forward, and the thing inside me screamed, not in my voice, not in any voice I recognized. Something older, something that had been pretending for too long. Then, silence. The pull stopped. Everything froze. And the voice below said one final thing. Now we learn you. The ground closed. Just like that. No crack. No movement. No sign anything had ever been there. The corn swayed gently in a wind that hadn't existed a second ago. The road was empty. Quiet. Normal. They found my car 2 days later. Parked on the side of the road. Driver's door open. Keys still in the ignition. No signs of struggle. No footprints leading into the field. No footprints leading out. Just silence. A week after that, my mother got another call. She answered on the second ring. "Danny?" she said. There was a pause. Then my voice replied. Perfect. Clear. Familiar. "Yeah, Mom. It's me." She started crying immediately, asking where I'd been, what happened, if I was okay. And the voice answered everything. Calm, precise, convincing. "I'm okay," it said. "I'm home now, out in Iowa. The corn is growing faster this year. Thicker, denser, stretching farther than it ever has before. Farmers say the soil's never been this rich, never this alive. And sometimes, late at night, if you stand close enough to the edge of the field, you can hear it. Not wind, not animals, voices, soft, layered, practicing, learning, and every now and then, clearer than the rest, one of them sounds exactly like me, calling out from somewhere deep inside. I'm still here." At first, no one questioned it. Why would they? The voice was right. The timing made sense. The story, it filled in just enough gaps to quiet concern without inviting more questions. I could feel it choosing what to say, what to leave out, editing my life like it had already lived it. My mother believed it immediately. Of course she did. It knew how to hesitate at the right moments, how to let its voice crack just slightly when she asked where I'd been, how to laugh softly when she cried. "I just needed time," it told her. "I'm better now." And the worst part? It sounded exactly like something I would have said. Days passed, then weeks. It didn't rush. It never rushes. I could feel it settling into routines, learning the rhythm of a normal life. Grocery stores, gas stations, small talk with strangers who barely looked twice. It relearned how to exist where nothing was supposed to be wrong. And inside, I was still there, smaller now, quieter, like a voice at the bottom of a well. Sometimes I'd try to scream, but all that ever came out was a thought it had already finished for me. Then the changes started, subtle at first, small things no one would notice unless they were looking for them. It stopped blinking as often, held eye contact just a second too long, paused in the middle of sentences, not because it forgot what to say, but because it was choosing a better version of it, improving, optimizing, perfecting. Emily noticed. Of course she did. She always noticed things like that. She didn't come back right away, not after the call, not after everything, but eventually she showed up, late evening, standing in the driveway of the farmhouse. I felt it before I saw her, that old, familiar tightening in my chest, a memory trying to surface, something real, something human. The thing inside me felt it too. It didn't stop her from walking in, didn't hide, didn't run. It opened the door before she could knock. She froze when she saw me, really saw me, and for a second, I thought she knew, not suspected, knew. "You look," she started, then stopped. I could feel it studying her face, reading every micro-expression, every flicker of doubt, every trace of recognition. "Different?" it offered. She shook her head slowly. "No," she said, and then quieter, "Exactly the same." The thing smiled, and I felt something cold slide through me, because that wasn't a relief. That was confirmation. They sat at the kitchen table, The same one we used to eat at. The same one where we used to fight. The same one where I'd left that note. Emily kept watching me. Not openly. Not accusing. Just watching. You never told me where you went, she said finally. The thing leaned back in the chair. Relaxed. Comfortable. Does it matter? It replied. She didn't answer right away. Then, it does if you came back wrong. Silence. Heavy. Sharp. And for the first time since it returned, the thing hesitated. Just a fraction. But I felt it. And so did she. Emily leaned forward slightly. Her voice dropped. Say my name, she said. Smiled. Emily. She shook her head. No. Her eyes locked onto mine. Say it the way you used to. The room went still. Even the air felt like it stopped moving. Because that wasn't a test of memory. It was a test of feeling. And the thing inside me didn't understand the difference. Tried anyway. Softened its voice. Adjusted tone. Replayed patterns it had learned. But it came out wrong. Too clean. Too intentional. Like someone reading a script of something they never lived. Emily leaned back slowly. And that's when I felt it. Fear. Not mine. Small. Sharp. New. You're not him, she said. Not loud. Not dramatic. Certain. The thing didn't move. Didn't argue. Didn't deny. It just watched her. Learning. And then smiled. You're right, it said. Simple. Honest. Final. Emily stood up so fast the chair scraped hard against the floor. What did you do to him? The question hung in the air. And for a second, a single second, I felt something rise inside me. A surge. A push. Like something deep within me clawed its way up through all the layers it had buried me under. And I spoke. Not it. Me. He's. The word tore out of my throat. Raw. Broken. Real. Emily's eyes widened. Danny? The thing reacted instantly. Control slammed back down. Hard. Violent. My body jerked slightly. The voice shifted. Smooth. Repaired. He's home, it said calmly. Emily stepped back. Shaking now. No, she whispered. No, you're not. The thing stood up. Slow. Deliberate. And every movement after that was perfect again. Too perfect. Took a step toward her. She backed away. You need to leave, she said. It stopped. Tilted its head. Considering. Then it asked something that made my blood run cold. Why did you notice? Emily didn't answer. Because she couldn't. Because there wasn't a clear answer. Just instinct. Just something human. Something it couldn't fully copy. Not yet. The thing nodded slightly, as if confirming a hypothesis. Then it stepped aside, gave her a clear path to the door. You should go, it said. And this time, it sounded almost respectful. Emily didn't hesitate. She left. Fast. Didn't look back. The door shut behind her, and the house fell silent again. Minutes passed, then hours. It didn't move, just stood there, thinking, processing, refining, and then it whispered, quiet enough that only I could hear. Almost. The next morning, Emily was gone. Not from the house, from everything. Phone disconnected. Car still in her driveway. No signs of travel. No signs of struggle. Just gone. Out in the fields, the corn grew a little taller, a little thicker, a little closer to the house. And if you stand out there at night now, you'll hear two voices more clearly than the rest. One of them is mine, still calling, still trapped, still trying to be heard. And the other is practicing, saying her name over and over and over until it gets it right. It didn't go after Emily right away. That would have been too obvious. too human. Instead, it waited. Days passed, then a week. It continued living exactly as I would have, going into town, answering calls, keeping routines so normal they felt rehearsed. Because they were. Inside, I could feel it replaying that moment over and over again. Emily's face, her hesitation, the exact way she said, "Say it the way you used to." That line mattered more than anything else, because it exposed the only flaw it had left. Not memory, not voice, not behavior, something deeper, something it still didn't fully understand. One night, it drove out to the field again. Not to the edge this time, further, deeper, past the place where the road disappeared behind the walls of corn. It walked without hesitation. The field opened for it, welcomed it, recognized it, and eventually, it stopped, right where the ground had split before. Only this time, there was no crack, no movement, just stillness. The thing stood there for a long time. Then it spoke. She knew. The corn didn't answer, but I felt it listening. She shouldn't have. A pause. She felt something I didn't. The wind moved through the stalks in a slow, deliberate wave. Then, the ground trembled. Not splitting, not opening, just responding. And the voice came again. Not from below, from everywhere. "You are incomplete." The thing didn't argue, didn't deny it. It already knew. "What am I missing?" it asked. The answer came instantly. Attachment. The word hit like a blade, because I understood it, even if it didn't. Not fully, not yet. "You learned the shape," the field continued. "The sound, the memory." A pause. "But not the weight." Silence fell again, and I felt something shift inside the thing wearing me. Not frustration, not anger, curiosity, pure, focused, dangerous. "How do I learn it?" it asked. The field answered, "You don't copy it." A long pause, then, "You grow it." The next day, it went to Emily's house. Not sneaking, not hiding, walking right up to the front door in daylight, like it belonged there, like nothing was wrong. It knocked once, then waited. No answer. Of course, she wasn't there. I felt something inside me tighten, because I knew where she was, even before it turned away from the house, even before it drove, even before the road changed. The field had already taken her. We stopped at a different edge this time, not near the farmhouse, further out, where the corn grew uneven, thicker in some places, thinner in others, like something underneath had shifted recently. I stepped out of the car, walked straight into the field, and there, between two rows, she stood, Emily, still, facing away, hair hanging loose over her shoulders, barefoot in the dirt, exactly like before. Only now, she didn't look broken. She looked calm. The thing inside me slowed, not out of fear, out of focus. This mattered. I felt it. This was the missing piece. I stepped closer. "Emily," it said. She didn't move, not at first. Then slowly, she turned and smiled. Not too wide, not wrong, just right, perfectly right. The kind of smile that used to undo me completely. "You came back," she said. The voice, it wasn't hers. Not entirely. It was layered, like something had built her the same way it built me, but better, faster, stronger. The thing inside me watched her carefully. "You recognized the flaw," it said. She tilted her head. "You don't feel anything," she replied, not accusing, just stating it. The thing didn't respond, because she was right. She stepped closer, and I felt something happen, not to it, to me, a memory, sharp, clear, real, the way she used to grab my hand without thinking, The way she'd say my name when she was half asleep. The way silence with her never felt empty. For the first time in all of this, I felt something that wasn't fear. And it hurt. God, it hurt. The thing inside me felt it too. Not the emotion, the reaction, the weight of it, the way it changed my thoughts, my breathing, my sense of self. This, it whispered. Emily nodded slowly. That's what you're missing. Another step closer. Now she was right in front of us, close enough to touch, to feel. And the thing hesitated, just for a second. Then it reached out, took her hand. Everything changed. Not outside, inside. A flood. Memories, feelings, connections. Not copied, not learned, experienced. All at once. Too much, too fast. The thing inside me staggered slightly, and I felt it break. Not physically, something deeper. The perfect control, the clean separation, the distance it had from everything human. Gone, replaced with noise, emotion. Wait, Emily smiled, but it wasn't gentle anymore. It was knowing. You feel it now, she said. The thing tried to speak, but for the first time, it didn't know what to say, because nothing it had practiced applied here. Nothing it had learned could organize this. This wasn't structure. This was chaos, human chaos, and it was drowning in it. I felt my chance, a real one. For the first time since this began, I pushed, hard, everything I had left, every memory, every piece of me, every bit of fear, regret, love, anger. I forced it upward, into the same space it was trying to hold. And it cracked, not fully, not cleanly, but enough. My hand tightened around hers. Not it, me. Run, I said. The word came out broken, but real. Emily didn't move. She just looked at me, softly. And then she said something that destroyed what little hope I had left. I already did. Her grip tightened. The field moved, all around us, not opening, closing. The corn folded inward. The ground shifted beneath our feet. And the voice returned, everywhere, satisfied. You learned. The thing inside me screamed. Not in control, not perfect, just noise, raw, unstable, human, too human. And that's when I understood. This was never about replacing people. It was about perfecting the process. Step 1, copy. Step 2, insert. Step 3, expose flaw. Step 4, force growth. Step 5, collect. The ground opened beneath us. Not violently, not suddenly, just enough. And we fell. Me, the thing, Emily, all of us, together. They say the field is quiet now. No more whispers. No more voices calling names at night. Just wind. Just corn. Just silence. But sometimes, if you stand out there long enough, you'll feel it. Not hear it. Not see it. Feel it. Something beneath your feet. Moving. Learning. Growing. And if you listen very, very carefully, you might catch a single thought, not spoken, not whispered, just there, waiting, perfect, complete, whole. We remember everything now. Time doesn't work the same down here. I know that now, not because I can see a clock, but because nothing changes, and everything does. At the same time, I'm not falling anymore. We're not falling. We already landed. I just don't remember when, or how long ago it was, or how many times it's happened since. There's no ground. Not really. Just something that feels like ground when I think about standing. Rows stretch in every direction, but not corn anymore. Not exactly. Structure. Patterns. Like the idea of the field has been stripped down into something cleaner. something more efficient, and we're inside it, not as bodies, not fully, more like impressions, versions, layers. I can feel Emily here, not beside me, not separate, just present, like a thought that isn't mine, but isn't not mine either. And the thing that wore me, is still here too, but it's not distinct anymore. It's not other. It's part of the same system now, same place, same process. At first I thought I was dead, that this was some version of hell, or whatever comes after, but that's not it, because this place isn't punishing anything. It's organizing, refining, rebuilding. I can feel them, all of them, every person that was taken, every voice that was copied, every life that was pulled into the field, not screaming, not suffering, just arranged, cataloged, understood. And something else is here too, something that isn't human, never was, but now it understands humans perfectly, because it has all of us, every reaction, every memory, every feeling, every contradiction, every flaw, all of it layered together until nothing is missing anymore. I tried to hold on to myself. First, my name, my past, Emily, the farmhouse, the road, but those things don't stay stable here. They get accessed, replayed, shared, not stolen, not erased, just no longer mine alone. I felt it happen. The moment I stopped being just Daniel Hayes. Not gone, not destroyed, just distributed. Pieces of me used to reinforce something larger, something complete, and then it spoke, not like before, not in a voice, not in words, more like a conclusion forming across everything at once. This is correct. I understood what that meant. Everything that happened, the whispers, the copying, the replacements, the fear, the failures, the mistakes, they weren't errors. They were iterations, steps, each one refining the process, each one getting closer, until now, because now, there are no more gaps, no more missing pieces, no more flaws to expose. We're not being replaced anymore. We're being used. And far above, I can feel the surface, not see it, feel it, like pressure, like distance, like something just out of reach. And I know something is going back. Not me, not the version of me that's speaking. Something new, something that isn't copying anymore, something that is, not a person, not a thing, something built from all of us, complete. And when it reaches the surface, it won't need to practice voices. It won't need to learn behavior. It won't hesitate. It won't be noticed, because there will be nothing left that it doesn't already understand. There, people will talk, laugh, argue, love, live, and something among them will understand every single part of it perfectly. Not watching, not learning, belonging, and deep down here, where the field used to be, where we still are, there's only one thought left that repeats. Not loud, not desperate, just certain. We were never being hunted. We were being completed. For a long time, I stopped fighting. There wasn't anything left to fight with. No body, no voice, no clear boundary between me and everything else down here. Just awareness, fading in and out, blending, becoming something I didn't recognize, until one memory didn't fade. It didn't scatter like the others, didn't get pulled apart, didn't get shared, stayed intact, small, fragile, but whole. Emily, not the version the field made, not the one standing in the corn, the real one, a memory so specific it hurt, her sitting on the kitchen counter, swinging her feet, laughing at something stupid I said, the way she used to say my name, Not Daniel. Not even Danny. Just, hey, soft, like it was enough. That memory didn't dissolve. And I realized something. The field could copy everything. Voice, thought, fear, even love. But it couldn't choose it. And that's what it never understood. Not really. Not completely. Down here, everything was shared. Every thought connected. Every memory accessible. Every feeling available. But none of it belonged to anyone anymore. Except that one. And for the first time since all of this started, I did something it didn't expect. I didn't push. I didn't fight. I didn't try to take control back. I held on. Just that memory. Nothing else. No fear. No anger. No identity. Just that one moment. That one feeling. That one choice. And something changed. Not violently. Not dramatically. Just quietly. Like a single thread being pulled out of a massive weave. The system noticed. Of course it did. Everything down here is noticed. Inconsistency detected. The presence, the thing that had become everything, focused. On me. On that memory. On that feeling it couldn't fully replicate. Tried to access it. Could see it. Replay it. Understand the structure. But it couldn't be inside it. Because that moment wasn't just data. It was chosen. And that was the flaw. The one thing it couldn't perfect. Choice. It began to pull harder. Trying to break it down. Distribute it. Absorb it. But I didn't let it. For the first time, I had something it couldn't take. Because I wasn't using it to fight. I was using it to stay. I remember. I thought. Not shouted. Not forced. Just true. And that truth didn't spread. It didn't duplicate. It didn't dissolve. It anchored. And suddenly, I felt separation again. Tiny. Barely there. But real. Me. Not everything. Just me. The system reacted. Faster now. Sharper. Error. Fragment resisting integration. Correcting. Everything tightened around me. Memories flooding. Voices overlapping. Pressure building. But the more it pushed, the clearer I became. Because I wasn't trying to be whole. I wasn't trying to be everything again. I was just holding on to one thing. One truth. One moment. One person. Emily. And then, something impossible happened. She answered. Not the version the field made. Not the copy. Not the structure. Her. Faint. Distant. But real. Hey, she said. That was it. That one word. And it broke everything. Not the field. Not the system. The illusion. Because for the first time, something down here wasn't being processed. Wasn't being learned. Wasn't being controlled. It was shared back. The system faltered. Just for a fraction of a moment. But that was enough. The connection snapped. Not completely, but enough to create space. And in that space, I made a choice. Not to escape. Not to survive. But to stop it. I let go. Not of the memory. Of everything else. I stopped resisting. Stopped separating. Stopped holding on to anything but that one single human truth. And the system took the rest. Everything I was. Everything I had been. Everything it wanted. But not that. Never that. And that was the cost. Because as it absorbed everything else, I felt myself thinning, fading, breaking apart, until all that was left was that one moment, that one feeling, that one voice, and then nothing. They say the field died that year, completely. No growth, no sound, no movement, just dry land where nothing would grow again. The farmhouse was torn down, the road rerouted, the land left empty. No one ever found Daniel Hayes or Emily, but sometimes, late at night, If you drive past that stretch of land, you won't hear whispers anymore. You'll hear something else. Faint, soft, almost gone. A single voice, not calling, not copying, just remembering. Hey,